What really made me understand being international was Brazil. Brazil was the first country, I would say even before America, that saw me clearly and celebrated me. My first Vogue cover was Brazil. Like everything, Brazil has always had my back. So it's the country that really opened my eyes to the world, to sounds of the world, to fashion of the world, to the in America, especially being a young Black actress, it could feel very restrictive, right? But in Brazil, I was so celebrated. I was so honored. I was so seen. So you guys really cut through a lot of the noise that I was even experiencing in my head.
Oi, gente, tudo bem? Sejam muito bem-vindos a mais um episódio do Universo Alfa. Hoje a gente conversa um pouquinho com a atriz, cantora, dançarina e escritora Cat Graham.
Pouquinho actress. Pouquinho woman.
Oh.
I'm learning words. Be careful.
Oh my God.
Every other word, I'm like, oh, I know that word.
Because you know a little bit of Portuguese.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
falar bem português.
Some words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Não muito.
We'll be careful with what we talk here. Because you
I'll know what you're saying. Hopefully. I'll keep working on it.
Just kidding.
Just kidding.
Thank you so much for being here with us. It's really a pleasure to receive you here at the studios of Alpha FM.
Thank you. Obrigada. It's so nice to be here. So cool. Like, I haven't spent too much time in Sao Paulo. I'm kind of like in and out unless I'm filming something. But I've spent a good amount of time in Rio. So this is the first time I'm getting to see the city. It is a city.
Yes.
Like, major.
With a lot of
traffic.
Yeah. The life is happening 24/7 here at São Paulo. It's a city that pulses, I think.
Absolutely. There's a lot of life, a lot of music, a lot of fashion. I'm learning about like Sao Paulo Fashion Week, and my girl Marina just like owns Sao Paulo, so it's nice. It's nice.
And so you're coming back to São Paulo in 2025 because you're doing shows here at Brazil. I really wanted to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
What are you preparing for your Brazilian fans?
Well, I wanted to do something that I thought that they would really like, which is taking them through the eras of my music up until like the newest releases, which obviously the next one is the Broken Hearts Club. But also getting into more international, where you'll really hear the influences of Brazil in my music for the full album that we're dropping next year. I wanted to do something that showcased everything from dance to the different types of genres that I've been performing in for a while. I've done like an R&B record, I've done trip hop, I've done straight pop, I've done dance. So just to kind of create an eclectic mesh of all of the records, and also do meet and greets. We're doing like a really fun one on Friday for the Sao Paulo kids, just to see them and hang out. If they got tickets to it, then they'll have access to the free meet and greet on Friday, which is a really fun surprise we wanted to do for them.
And I really wanted to talk to you about first your career in music, because it's something that you've been investing. It's in through the years, and now you're releasing the EP on November 1st.
Yeah.
And next year you have another project coming out.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to talk to you about, you said in interviews that music, it's how you to express deep emotions and connect with the audience. How do you think that influenced your career, and that willingness to invest in music, to do projects? What do you think that kind of inspired you in some way?
Yeah, I think deciding to do music, and after every album, I'm like, I'm done. You know, I have a need, I think, as an artist, to just create, and I create pretty quickly as a music artist. I've worked with some really great people in my history, and then I've kind of gone in and out of like a label system, in and out of agent systems. And I realized that, I just want to be able to just do my art. And that is how I treat all of my like film and TV and fashion. I just want to create and being able to be free and to be able to combine who I am as an actor and also combine that same philosophy with music has been really important too. So that records have meaning and I have an end goal with them. That wasn't something that I necessarily thought about in my albums before, but for this record and especially the one after, I think there's a lot of I have a goal.
And I really wanted to talk to you about the EP, the Broken Hearts Club.
Yeah. I
really wanted to ask you, what are your objectives with this project? What is your goal? Were the inspirations for the EP? What crossed your mind when you were composing, when you were producing the album? It was on the first stages,
Yeah, originally I started off with one idea to create an international album. And when I started working on the records, they started sounding more 80s and like super synth. So it didn't necessarily make sense. And then even when I was like making records for I think I had even like produced and wrote a record to submit to Anita, right? But the idea of what I wanted to express started to splinter into two different ideas. The idea of war and peace. And I knew that the international album had to represent peace. And I knew that there's another side to that also had to represent how to get there. And I had a really hard time last year personally. Lost my mom. I was dealing with my late brother's death. I was dealing with a lot of loss, a lot of heartbreak, lost my dog. Like it was all of these moments that we all experience very privately. And it I didn't know how to navigate it. And I was like, well, if I say I'm an artist, right? This is the time to do that. This is the time to express. So I wrote the record and I recorded it. I recorded a record called Revenge. And then I took a record that I had done for Toro Gato, which was the last album that was unreleased, and put it all together. And I'm like, okay, that's how you start, is by accepting if you have a broken heart, because that's the only way to peace, I think, is acceptance first. And so I wanted to, it always starts with yourself first. I don't want to get too philosophical, but a friend of mine always says that peace starts from the self first. And then once you conquer yourself, then you can start talking about healing the world and doing something more globally, but you got to get real first. So that's what this album is. The Broken Hearts Club is our, step one. If there's like the different stages of grief, or I think it's like 12 stages of grief or something like that, you get through those and then you can be like, okay, I got it out of my system. I got the anger. I got the hope, the tears, the cry, the heartbreak. I said it all. And now I'm free. And now I can be like, okay, now let's go change the world, right? So that's kind of my idea of how I'm seeing both of those projects come to life. But it originally just started with an idea to do an international record that just turned into 80s sound. And I'm like, you got to go over there. You got to be your own album, because that makes no sense over here. And I just, got to get my 80s broken heart era out.
And it's something really personal.
Very personal.
If you go into those feelings, I think it's one of the most intimate you can get.
Yeah, I don't do that in my music. I was a backup dancer,
For Pharrell Williams, right?
I danced for Pharrell, Missy Elliott, cameos for Bieber. I mean, Chemical Romance. I don't know if you guys have that band out here. I was backup dancing for, everyone I could. And I didn't necessarily I put my dancing as a way to be vulnerable and express myself, but I didn't connect it to lyrics because I started off as a beat maker and as an engineer. So it was like drums and synths and stuff like that and dance. And I wasn't really writing when I first got my break because the labels were handing me songs. And I'm like, can I write my own? And they're like, do this. And I'm like, I hate it, but okay. And then I finally left and I was like, okay, well now, and then I'm like, okay, this is why the fans from my show are so intense, is because of the connection between the soul and the art. I'm like, okay, I gotta bridge that. I gotta finally just bridge it and stop being a big baby and just own it and not be scared of what comes out. And that's where I'm at.
And it's something very common talking to the artists in general, that getting personal, it's something that it's such something important for them. I was talking to Adi Oasis as well. And she was talking also that it was her first album that got really personal with her experience with motherhood. And it's something that I think it's an important step, I think, for artists, for the audience as well to connect. Because grief is such a universal experience, right? Everybody loses someone or something that's important to them.
Yeah, and like how do you turn loss and grief, and how do you say I'm gonna keep going? Like how do you create like a war cry for yourself that says, regardless of my circumstances, I'm gonna believe in love, right? I mean, Cher did it really well with her song Believe, but like how do you do it from a darker, less dancey space, but still make it pop and still make it, something that people can really move to. So, we'll see. We'll see how the record does. I hope you guys play it.
I'm very anxious to.
Have you heard it yet?
I still not. I haven't.
I'll play it for you.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And especially you said about the 80s pop. It's something that really moves me, and it's really something that we play. It's something very similar to our musical selection here.
Oh,
at
good.
Alpha.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. And you were talking about peace and war, and I wanted to ask you something really particular. But during the Billboard Women in Music 2024, you talked about the single World song that was inspired by We Are the World from Michael Jackson. So it's something that this kind of those themes are something that it has been very present in your life. It's not something that came out just for this record in particular. It's something that you've been thinking about for some time.
Yeah, so We Are the World was always a part of my life because I've known Quincy Jones for about 20 years. So we would talk about that record and his process with it, but I was more inspired by him and his idea that everyone should coexist, and what he did in film and TV, from like everything from like The Color Purple to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to like the Off the Wall album. And I was like, he's my idol, right? Like I love there's some amazing female artists, but like Quincy Jones for me has always been like it. And I wanted to do something with, there's kids chanting on the chorus, and I wanted to do something that felt very World Cup, that felt very like a chant for all of us to come together. And it's really about global peace. I mean, but it done in a really fun way. We shot the video. I'm really excited. I think we're probably going to drop it in April. I'm trying to do it around the Michael Jackson movie as a wink to Q. So we'll see. I don't have my release date yet, but we'll see that everything kind of comes together. But yeah, the concept of it, it's not sonically that kind of sound. It's a little bit more upbeat, but yeah.
And talking about your career, in general, you were nominated Time 100 Next Generation
That's right.
Leader.
I did.
Oh my God.
It's very cool.
How did it feel to you to receive this nomination and to receive that recognition from the media, to be nominated Next Generation Leader? How did it feel to you?
I was shocked. That team does a lot of research and they've got a lot of great people to pick from. So I was just happy that they were even considering me. And then when I found out, I was excited. I really try and not get my validation externally. And I say this to a lot of young girls because you're happy when you get a lot of likes and praise, but then you're sad when you don't get it. And I don't want to be somebody that's mood or my spirit gets affected by if people are like, we like you, we hate you, you're great, get out of here. I don't want to be somebody that changes my mood based on if people are in my corner or not. But I will say, because it was about my humanitarian work, then I felt like, okay, I'm on the right track. If anything, it was like a confirmation to keep going with my understanding of trying to contribute to the world. And if I'm wrong in terms of acting, music, being a wife, whatever, I know that I'm a good humanitarian, and I know, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day, at the end of my life, is that I did that and I did it right. So I know I'm going in the right direction with that. And hopefully, as long as that is always my end goal, is to give back into the world and empower the world, then everything else is gonna, be okay.
And I wanted to ask you about your activism, because it's something really important to you. And how does it feel? What is the importance to talk about not just music in general, but social causes in general? How does it feel to you to bring those, because you have a lot of visibility, and to talk about those themes, it kind of brings some visibility as well.
Yeah, I think I had to learn pretty early on, what's the difference between a humanitarian, a philanthropist, and an activist. I definitely have a voice, but I would say I'm more so a humanitarian, and I'm more so focused on human rights. And I try and use my platform for it, and I try and use my music as a way to get people to see that we're not different, and that women everywhere, kids everywhere, men everywhere should have the same rights. And I'm working with different organizations that do a really good job of that and trying to amplify that. I don't know. I just feel like I'm doing the work, but it never feels like it's enough. But it also feels like the more people that feel empowered to make a difference, then I am doing my job. But it's hard. It's hard when you go to some of these places and you can't even imagine having to live in those circumstances. And those people are still thriving and still grateful and still generous. And it makes it even more, it just puts everything into perspective for sure.
And it gives you, I think, I imagine it would give you more strength to continue doing your work,
Yeah.
to continue with the causes, and also with your art, because it's something that gives a lot of relief for so many people, and that identify with some artists, for example.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I've definitely met a lot of young girls that were having a hard time, and I won't go into it, but really felt that my art had really helped them push through. So that's, it's great. I just don't want to be the reason. I want people to be able to be inspired by themselves and be like, I'm the reason, I'm my favorite artist. I want them to see themselves with as much excitement as they see me. I think that's a big one for me.
And talking about that kind of admiration for artists. You admire a lot of huge artists. You said you already said that your dream collaboration, one of your dream collaborations, would be with Madonna. Is that right?
Madonna. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm also happy to bring her coffee. That's fine too. Yeah, she's amazing. But really, what I'm really focused on is that my dream collaboration is to work with artists from Brazil, to work with different artists that are in Africa or, in Latin America or, in Asia, to really bring those sounds and those point of views and those musicians together. That's what I'm the most excited about, is the global artists. That's what I've been really focused on.
Because you said that you're focusing on an international album.
Yeah, and pairing them with activists, I think that's what I'm really excited about. So yes, selfishly, of course, I would love to have a record with an iconic woman. But I also really have to put my humanitarian work first. And if that person happens to also be a humanitarian, where, Madonna is one, Bono is one, all these people, and it works out, then great. But it's not necessarily something I'm like going after. I just want to get the international artists together.
And from Brazilian culture in specific, do you have some things, not only artists, but some artists or some things from our culture that you admire, that you perhaps thinks of bringing that to an album?
Yeah, I mean, even just like there's certain like melodies, like Sergio Mendes did like the most beautiful melodies that created that kind of that chanty. I mean, Santana has done some stuff too, but he's not obviously Brazilian. But there is this kind of, and you see it in like Orpheus Negro. You see the children and chants are like really utilized. It's kind of that similar tonality, that ba 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 ba. Like there's that kind of, it just brings everything to life. And also the things that Brazil does in spades with like carnival and colors and drums, and that is something that is absolutely influencing my album, like in a major way, for sure. I'll play you the record for Brazil also as the single whenever we cut, because you guys have to wait. But I'll play it for you, and you'll get what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really now
you like
I'm really
it.
curious.
Yeah.
Because we were talking backstage now that Brazil, it's a country that influenced you
Huge.
throughout your career.
Huge. The style, the personalities, like, when you think of just two words, a Brazilian woman, you immediately get the idea of that vibe in a way that transcends so much. And I would say that I had been influenced by Brazil. I think it really started, even though I don't talk to my dad, I have to give him credit that he really brought a lot of Brazil flavors into my life. From like a young kid, he was like going back and forth to Brazil. He speaks fluent Portuguese. And I grew up between like, LA, but I would go and see him in Portugal, and then, would go to Brazil, and I shot the Fanta commercial in Brazil. Constantly inspired by also the look of Brazilian women, that kind of like free, funky spirit. I see a little bit of that in Italian women and like fashion and stuff, but I really see this kind of, self-ownership, no BS, very like direct, also about family, also warmth, and that's something that I've really wanted to embody. And that's really why I'm prioritizing Brazil with this record versus anything else, because this is the launch of what really made me understand being international was Brazil. Brazil was the first country, I would say even before America, that saw me clearly and celebrated me. My first Vogue cover was Brazil. Like everything, Brazil has always had my back. So it's the country that really opened my eyes to the world, to sounds of the world, to fashion of the world, to the in America, especially being a young Black actress, it could feel very restrictive, right? But in Brazil, I was so celebrated. I was so honored. I was so seen. So you guys really cut through a lot of the noise that I was even experiencing in my head living in America to be like, no. Brazil, they get it. So yeah, so it's this the kind of beginning of this new era of my music, and starting it here just feels completely right.
It's special even.
Yeah,
and
it's absolute. It's passion.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I knew you had a relationship with Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about when you came here to shot, and you shot the commercial. I researched, but I didn't know that kind of intimate relationship.
I mean, even my humanitarian work, even before I was working with the UN Refugee Agency, I went into the favelas and I met all of these kids that were part of this drum group. And I think I was like in town for like a Vampire Diaries convention or something. And I was like, hey, I'm going to hire all you kids. And they got on a bus and they came and they played for the entire convention, like thousands. They had never played for that. And they would we would do all of these like paper airplanes, and we would make them with put them over the, and that was their fun thing for them. And like, football, and me understanding the bridge between who I am as an artist and who I am as a humanitarian also started in Brazil, from just going to the favelas and being like, okay, you're coming with me. Let's go. So that's what my life has been like. Bringing the kids with me. Okay, we're going to do it together. Let's go. And then since then, obviously, my career has blossomed, but it's really just, at the end of the day, me taking a paper airplane and just, throwing it off at the side of the favelas and seeing how far it goes,
Oh my God. That's
deep.
That's such a beautiful and poetic image that you're describing.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about Brazil. So,
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I hope I get to celebrate with the fans and just like be someone that, even if I don't speak Portuguese yet,
a little bit,
that I can be somebody that represents what Brazil represents. And that I continue to be like embraced by a country and a culture that has really inspired me, for sure.
It's going to be a magical moment, I imagine.
I think so.
It's going to be really, really special.
Yeah.
And we're really looking forward. I think the fans especially are very looking forward for this moment when you come here to do the shows in 2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be very special.
I think so. I think they'll have a good time.
And I wanted to ask you also, you mentioned just a little bit about the Michael Jackson biopic, especially because you're playing Diana Ross.
Yeah.
Which is a huge, for Alpha FM, we're here. It's an amazing artist. It's a huge artist here. And I really wanted to talk about the preparation. I imagine you research her career, her life.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what were the things that you thought were the most important? What kind of just called your attention, let's say, on her life and her trajectory?
Well, playing someone who's still alive is a little more daunting. This is now the second person that I've played in a film that's alive. The first one was Jada Pinkett for the Tupac movie, but this one, it's really important to focus on the essence of someone and not try and make a caricature out of them. And I wanted to honor her and also try and capture the essence of friendship between her and Michael. Funny enough, I actually went to the favela that Michael Jackson shot the. I think it's called
They Don't Care
About Us. Yeah, that was the favela that I found the group in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's all kind of like full circle. Isn't that wild?
Oh my God.
Yeah, Oladun.
Oladun.
Yeah. So, anyway, side note, that's weird. I just remembered that. But yeah, I did my best. The good news is I don't care what anyone thinks. But hopefully, at least they'll be entertained.
Oh, I think it's going to be an amazing biopic because such amazing artists that are just in the cast.
Yeah.
And it's such a rich story of Michael Jackson, of his life, and the people that are around him. So I think it's going to be an amazing project.
I think it's definitely overdue, and a lot of people want to see it. I'm excited. I have a couple friends that are also in it. So, I knew how good they were in it. And if I'm anywhere near as good as they are, I think I did a good job. So, yeah.
And have you met her for the role, or did you? It wasn't something that crossed your mind.
Oh, it was one of those things where I auditioned for it, didn't think I was going to get it. Next day, I was basically on a plane and shot on the weekend. And by the time I looked up, the movie was wrapped. But I you do what you can with what you got. But it was a very, very fast turnaround, and I wasn't, able to talk to her before then. But I'm sure I will at some point in the near future.
Oh my God! I didn't know that was such
it was very fast, very fast, very very fast.
God. Because it was announced a couple months ago that you were.
I'd already finished it at that point.
When it was announced,
I'd already completed it.
Oh my God!
I know. Wig was on and wig was off. I was like, what just happened? Yeah, it was one of those. Don't even know where the wig was. Just like, somewhere in a trailer.
Because you were trying to, when artists in general interpret a real person, it's your version of her. It's not an impersonation, right?
Well, I think, it's kind of like what I had told Jada. I'm like, it's my job to capture the essence of your friendship and you, and I would never play a woman that I felt had influenced like the pop zeitgeist in such a positive way and not honor her and not show like the complexities and so like I'm a big Motown girl. Like I'm like when we talk about Quincy, we can also talk about Barry, and I'm a big Motown girl. So it's like when I think of Diana Ross, like a lot of people, listen, Suzanne DePass is the queen of Motown. But when I think of Diana Ross and the time that, in America where Black women were not respected and there was a lot of racism, her music and deciding to show up in that glamorous hair and that makeup, that was, against all odds, and having to perform during a time where there was so much animosity towards African Americans in America, and to continue to have integrity with how she showed up. I don't think it's a coincidence that the civil rights movement happened when her and the Supremes were at the peak. She really used her music to create the soundtrack of a movement. And for me, I just want to honor her and do a good job because I know the relevancy, not of who she is. There's plenty of great female artists in the world, but there aren't that many that have created enough of a ripple by how they showed up and what they had to say, when they had to say it, that changed the course of history. So no one has to worry about anything about me playing Diana because ain't nobody else should have played her. I should have played her because I get it. So, because I know the depth of how much she has really contributed, and I have reverence for her. So,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm speechless.
It's deep stuff. Like it goes deep, music goes deep. And, you, especially in radio, sometimes it's like record after record after record. And we just want to hit, we just want this, we just want that. And it's kind of like in and out, in and out, in and out. What's charting, what's popular. And it's like, the world's kind of broken right now. And everyone's suffering, and even post-COVID, or, people are dealing with people that are not being fair and not, we're not treating each other right. So music is the one place that we can go that everyone can really speak the same language, and have the same sentiments. And it is important. We can't just treat it as if it's like some fleeting thing that doesn't have any weight. So that's my 2 cents.
And it really that's a deep dialogue with your next album that's coming out next year, right? When we were talking about the strength of music. And I really wanted to ask you, just to finish the interview, about your plans to 2025. It's about you're releasing the album, you're doing shows. What is on your mind for 2025?
Hopefully a couple movies will finally come out. Definitely the Pele album, and supporting that, and, bridging the gaps internationally between artists, countries, conversations. That's a big goal for me. I think my dogs want me to be home more. So I don't know what's going on. I know that I've been married, but I need to have a wedding. So I'm doing that. And I'm actually a pretty simple girl. Like, I just want to make my art, put it out, and like inspire and have a good time. And yeah, it seems like that's just like 3 projects out next year, but who knows? Who knows what will come of it, right?
A lot of things can happen in the way, right?
You never know. You never know. So we'll see. It's up to you guys, honestly. It's up to the fans. They really have always decided what I do with my career, and where how far I can go. It's how far we can go, How far do we take it?
I really want to thank you for the talk.
This was great.
Oh, thank you
Super
so
inspired.
much. So much for being here with us and to talk about your project and just talking about your passion for life in general. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're amazing. This is great. I feel like we should cheers.